All right, here we go. It's working. Hey guys, my name is Ivan Mendoza. I'm a character designer in the animation industry. And today I'm going to talk about my process and how I do my caricatures for Caricature Resolution 2026. So here's the list that we're going to actually work from. Which one are we going to choose today? Let's choose Dave Prowse. He was the first actor to actually play Darth Vader in the beginning of Star Wars. He was the guy under the suit, but not the person that actually voiced him. So let's look up some reference. So first thing, so here's the first photo of him. And the second photo that actually stands out to me is this one here. But if we actually look up the reference on when he played Darth Vader, has this face. And that's a little funny just because since Darth Vader is such a serious character, I feel like it'd be hilarious to actually have this tired looking guy right underneath it, you know, and then so it actually kind of gives him a little bit of story, a little bit of contrast from the seriousness of Darth Vader to the tiredness of the actor that actually plays Darth Vader, you know, and then so I think that'd be hilarious. And then so that's kind of just like the first step. And then the things that I would actually also kind of search for, sometimes his personality by watching a couple like videos on YouTube, you know, and then so that actually informs who he is as a character. So like when I'm actually drawing him, I understand his vibe, I understand who he is as a person. And then that can also inform the caricature that I'd be doing, you know. So now that we've actually collected some reference, then we can get to drawing. So when starting out my sketches, I don't actually use digital, especially for caricatures. I've noticed that paper is what's been working well for me, and for drawing tool, I use this, the Staedtler Mars Technico. Can you guys see that? There it is. Yeah, so these are the two things that I actually use to get started. I have my references right in front of me, and the first things I usually do is that I actually just kind of just sketch out, not look for a perfect drawing right away, but just try to get an idea and feeling on who he is as a person, right? And then so this is the part where I kind of just really just explore and not really refine anything, right? And his head kind of goes up in this motion like this here. So I could push this out a little bit. Give this one out a little bit also. You guys see that? And after that, he has this kind of like lazy eye, but yet one seems to be lower than the other, so. That looks pretty hilarious, especially with the eye just drop down like that. So, push your eyebrows. That would be my first take. After understanding the notes that I've kind of taken, I try to do another one. So the important part of this is that I try not to settle immediately on the first one, just because if you actually settle on the very first one, what happens is that the possibilities of what the drawing could be. And then so, in a way, this is kind of like thumbnailing, also taking the time to process and discover who he is. Now I think British, and who are the people that actually have British vibes to them, you know, like Prince Charles. Is David Beckham one of them? So like these are the other kind of people I really think about to try to get the vibe of who David Prowse could be. Gordon Ramsay I think is also a good one too. It's the next day and I'm still working on it, but I feel like I'm almost there. So don't mind this whole setup. I'm still trying to get used to this whole YouTube thing. We're almost there. All right, there's our drawing. Like, there's a few parts here that I'm not like 100% happy about, but I feel like we can, you know, fix that in Procreate when I actually take it to a final. But most of it is already here. And then so, in normal cases, when I'm not so nervous in front of the camera, I'd probably go over this a couple more times. But for the sake of sharing my process, I think this is a good stopping point for now. And then after, so we're gonna move over to the iPad. So there you can see all of the caricatures I've done so far. And then after that, I go into the tool icon, I add photo that we just took into the file. And there we go. From there, I take it down to opacity here. For brushes, I've kind of made my own brush library for Caricature Resolution. So I have the Viz Dev Sketch and then Soft Brush and the Nico Roll 2 here. But also another one that I like to use is the calligraphy chalk brush. That seems to be good. And the new ones that I discovered recently, the Procreate library, these ones are all really good. So I still need to take the time to go through all of those. But primarily, my brush set 2026, this seems to be my go-to, plus the calligraphy one, which I should actually just duplicate, and then so I can just move it over so I don't have to toggle back and forth. So there we go. All right, so after that, now that we have our drawing, I'll make my notes on it, all right? And then I'll start. So this is the part I'm just not sure about based off of the reference that I'm looking at. His hair still does this, then brings it over, and that. Oh, let me add my talking head into this video, so I'm gonna go do that. So based off of the reference, I now just looking and making sure that my drawing as a whole works, but still again, this side's not something I'm really that happy about for the most part, but after making that change, seems to be okay. There you go. It's already coming together. Instead of trying to make a clean line when I'm cleaning my drawing, I try to keep it rough, just because like when I'm doing these drawings, I feel like, oops, you know, I feel like that the moment it's all cleaned up, the appeal of it goes away. So I just try to keep it as rough as I can without it being too clean, because yeah, it doesn't, to me, it just doesn't look good. I decided to make his neck a little thicker because when I was doing a little bit more research on him last night, I discovered that he was a bodybuilder. So add to his caricature a little bit more, but everything else will primarily be the same. There you go. Then go. Okay, so there's that. Your neck is a little too thick. Now I'm gonna bring that back in. So there's a line work. Then go above that layer, add a clipping mask, and then drop in the black. There you go. Merge that down. And then now I go underneath that drawing and I just do a grayscale fill. So something like that. So from here, now I'm gonna paint him in, and we're not looking for, I'm not looking for his exact colors right away, but just something close to it, right? So what I go to a lot is hue, saturation, brightness, and then so I just try to get a good gauge on which color he'll be. And right now it looks like he's like similar to what the background is. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna darken the background with, again, the hue, saturation, brightness, and then so he can now stand out, right? From here, I'm gonna go color his hair. So there's one of two ways I can do that. One, I could just color it in, or the second one would just be cutting it out, right? So like this. So what you do, you take the lasso tool and you just cut it out. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because, you know, like it's just a drawing and it's art, right? Because art, that's just part of it. So after we got our selection, you swipe down with 3 fingers and then you press duplicate. And then so now it's on this whole new layer. And again, now we go back to hue, saturation, brightness. So now we bring that color down and we can fix what we might have been missing in regards of the, clean up his hair a little bit. There's still something about this part that's bothering me, but let's fix that now. So, you know what it is? It's twinning. So right now it's too symmetrical. The fact that there's these 2 points that's coming out on each end is the parts that's really causing a disruption to this drawing. So I'm looking at the reference again, and then so now we're gonna completely clear this whole section here, and then just give him a little hint of his sideburn on the other side, like so. I think that would work. There you go. So now, color that in, go back into the drawing layer, back to black, just kind of comes down like this. There you go. So now, we'd clean up the outside. We're gonna color his shirt. Kate, bring it down, there you go. So it's a little darker than his hair. So now, when I start doing like the first shadow pass on his face. So right now the light is coming from here, so I'm gonna drop a light shadow on his face. Okay, so wherever there's shadow, that's where I just drop it. Okay, and if it's looking a little dark, which it sometimes does, and I just turn down the opacity. The other shadows I'll get to later, but just primarily, we just kind of just wanted to add that just for texture. And I don't know if you guys know this trick, but if you click on the layer, you could alpha lock, and what that does is that you can actually, I'll just use a color so you guys can see better. Orange, oops. If you put the layer on an alpha lock, what happens is that if you color it, it won't go outside the shape that you just filled in. So, helpful tip. There's that, and then there's his eyes. Now that majority is there, I'm gonna add like a blush on him, so there's some form of color where there's, cause there's more blush here, and the chin and stuff. So we're just gonna add that lightly with the soft brush. There, you guys see that? Might be a little dark, but that's okay. After we got into this part, then we could go in with a multiply layer. Yeah, multiply layer, and then fill in the shadows. I feel like the sweater portion here, I feel like could add a little bit of texture. I added a nice texture to it. Then from here, I turn down the line layer, right? Maybe to 70, and then I go over it again with more of a black. So when I actually add the color layer on top of it, it will add color to the line as well, And so this is the part where I only draw in the black, only in parts that matter, like say his eyelashes or his eyebrows, under his nose, his lip, things of this nature. And then so here we go. All right, so, and this is where I kind of add the strands of hair also sometimes to make his hair feel a little bit more wispy. Is that a word, wispy? If it is, then yeah, let me know. Okay, so there we go. All right, so now I look for a good color that kind of would fall in with him. So I say yellow, then after that I take that layer, make that into a color. There we go. And then if I'm not 100% happy with it, again, hue, saturation, brightness. I'm looking at a color photo of him, and then so I feel like something like this would work. There you go. Right? Then from here, his hair looks based off the photos of what I'm looking at online, he needs to look a little lighter. I really like where this looks. where this is kind of going. I feel like that's kind of like right on point with what I'm trying to do. Oh, one of my lights just went out. Yes, there we go. So now from here, pretty satisfied with it. So now in this part, we're gonna add an overlay layers to even out the whole tone of the drawing. Bring that to an overlay and then drop that down. And here, this is where I actually add a little bit of noise to give it some texture. You guys see that? Is that coming onto the screen? I can't tell if it is or not. So after we filled in the color, go to the hue, saturation, brightness again to see if there's any other color that really works for this drawing. Something like that. For some weird reason, this color seems to work. So after that, from here, I add a little bit of noise to give the drawing a little bit of texture. Then I duplicate that layer again, and this time I put it on multiply. There we go, that works, okay. From here, I feel like this is kind of like the fun part. Again, we've already established that the light is coming from this direction. And so at this point, we want to make sure it's not too dark, that he's kind of not standing like in a dark room or anything, but so something like that. And then right here, from here, this is where we're gonna actually finally add our light. So I take nice light color, there we go. And then some parts needs to darken up a little bit. Like some parts came out a little too light. There's that big glare. I'm just gonna move it over a little bit. So here's the final drawing. Let me know if that was helpful. And if you guys have any questions, leave them on the comments below. I appreciate you guys watching. Have a good day, guys. Bye.